us your experience in Burma when you were young, and about your family life in Burma, and we would like to hear that. Could you please share with us?
Well, my family life in Burma started when I was very little, but I can't remember that. I can certainly remember from the age of about 5 or 6 years of age, and at that time we lived in the Skokran High School compound in Basin, which is now known as Bethane, and we lived in the house which was built for Dr. Nichols, who built or had the school built. It was a beautiful Korean school. It had 2,000 pupils who were dormitories for them. They slept there, and they came from all the villages around. It was beautiful grounds. They had sports grounds, and it really was a lovely school.
And I think you might also remember who supported that school, who was the founder of that big school that you lived.
Well, the actual founders, I wouldn't like to say, but certainly it was inspired and planned by American missionaries, of which Dr. Nichols was a very important person there. And of course, it was funded also by the Koreans, of which my grandfather, Thelma Gyi, was one of the important people that gave a lot of money to the school to be built for various reasons. And one of the things he did, which I remember very well, was provided the rice for all the pupils to eat.
All right. Yeah. And I think you told us sometimes today about your childhood, how you spent your childhood with your grandparents or your family. Could you please share us a little bit about that as well?
Well, my time was spent as a child, obviously in school, but my playtime was with all the children in the school, because there are lots of little children, and as we lived in the Korean compound, in the school compound, I was also privileged to have the sports grounds and the swings and the roundabouts and things like that that were there, and plenty of school friends, and the safety of being able to play without any danger from anywhere. Of course, I also visited very, very regularly my grandfather and grandmother in Begiet, where they lived. They did have a house also in Bethane, and that house was just outside the campus of the Korean school, and it was a bit of the old school, which was Toall Hall. And when they finished with Toall Hall and they wanted to build this brick building, they moved the house on rollers that you can in Burma with the stilts, and it moved out, and he lived there. And downstairs in his house was the schoolrooms, and it was always stayed the schoolrooms. And I remember that very well because I could play at being at school, being a teacher at the school, of course.
And did you remember any moment how you spend your time with your parents? I mean, your dad especially. How if you share with us about that, because we want to also know how your father was like as being Korean father, as well as working for his people.
Yes. Well, of course, at that time, I wasn't really very aware of what he was doing for his people, except that he was very involved with the school. He was a man very sporty. He was a very good sportsman, and he liked to encourage the young boys of the school to learn how to play football, to learn how to play tennis, to learn how to box, to learn how to swim. And they used to come and do gym in the house, because he had all sorts of apparatus for himself, and he shared it with the boys. He enjoyed young men to be always very energetic and sporty. But he was also, of course, when he was in Basin, his main job as a barrister was to defend Qurans in the courts. You know, that was the purpose of him being sent to England in the first place, to become a barrister, because his father realized that it was necessary, and he sent both my father and Sorpetha also at the same time to go to England, where they both stayed for 8 years, and they both went back to Burma as barristers. And that was how, my grandfather liked to envisage that two men would defend Quran rights. And they could be, if you are in law, you know the language of law, so consequently anything to do with law, to even to make law, you know the language, you're trained in it, and so that was what he did mostly, yes.
And it's still very, very important for our people.
Very.
We need many barristers. Yeah, we still.
Yes, just I don't know what the system is now. If you want to go into law in Burma, can you study law in Burma itself, I presume?
You can.
Yes.
But we don't know for sure how you will be able to practice what you have learned from that law society. Freely practice your right. We're not very sure.
No.
Yeah.
Well, obviously in the time of Baoji, when he went to England, Burma was still a colony, so you had to have British law.
Right.
So he had to study British law in England, but then British law was also practiced in Burma as well, so that was why he, became a barrister.
Yeah, it was highly needed that time.
Yes, but it was very necessary, and really and truly all that proved in his later life, when after the war, for example, and during the war as well, that the Karen people, when they were asking for their independence as much as the Burmans asking for theirs, or any of the other ethnic groups in Burma asking for their particular independence, it was essential that they should have a man like him to do the work for them, to understand the law, to present their case. Because when you want to ask for independence, you have to be able to present it.
Yeah. And we also heard, or from our elders and from some of your father's colleague or those who worked with him before, they told us that your father and your grandparents, they own lots of lands. Then could you please tell us a little bit about those wealth thing that your grandparents own, and what happened after they passed away?
Well, of course, my grandfather passed away whilst I was still in Burma. So there was we left in 41, so he died, I think, if my memory is good, in about 1940, about that time. And of course, then his children, of which he had 5 children, inherited all his land. And of course, his 5 children divided into 5 inheritances. However, I do know that when my father died, because he came to England with the Karen Good Mission in 46, and of course he still had his land then. It was a few thousand acres, but to be honest, as a child, I never asked my father how many thousand acres he possessed. But on the other hand, I do know that with his inheritance, he did inherit, as part of his inheritance, he did inherit Haingji Island. The other sisters, of which there were 4, they inherited, different parts. Anyway, when he died, all his property was confiscated. So that was all I can tell you. We were in England at the time, and that also confiscated our means to live.
And we are very grateful and very honored having you today at our Mata's Day. And if you don't mind, we also would like you to share how you feel about this and what message you want to send to your own current people, whether back home or in exiles or in Thailand. So would you like to share with us?
Thank you. There's no need to be honored. The pleasure is all mine, and it really has been a most joyful day, and one of the most joyful parts of it was to talk to the young people here. And for people in Burma, if they want to know what the young people of Karen people are doing in England, they need not worry. They are studying well, they are full of energy, full of goodwill to learn, and with the intention of helping their own people, going back, helping, assisting. But my message, if there is to be a message to be sent from me, these young people who are in England now, and the same current people who are perhaps in other countries like the United States, like Sweden, Norway, Australia, Canada, they are all enthusiastic, learning, and they want to help their country. But they need to have their country. They need to have toall. They need to have a place that they can really work at and uplift. It is important that we have our own country with the boundaries legally recognized. I think it is essential for the young people here who have been born outside Burma, many of them. It is essential that they should know their own country. Where are they going to help their people? Their people are all over in Burma where they would like to help them. So it is essential that they have their own country. They can visualize it, they can love it, and they can put their energy into that. That is only the beginning. But we need to be really very united. If there are people who want personal gains or personal interest, that is normal. But to put forward our national front, we have to have a united national front.